despite how harsh we're being, it's not the worst movie.
It's just bland.
It's just lame. It's just lame
As I said,
and bland. And
that
and
review,
boring.
if that little blurb sounds like the movie for you,
then you'll love it, man. But,
go see it. Like, I'm not going to say you're necessarily wrong, because maybe there is a fan base for this. Maybe there is a fan base for this. Maybe there is a fan base for this. Maybe there is a fan base for this.
So Doug Walker and his brother Rob recently made a video where they reviewed Sonic the Hedgehog. And if you look at the video right now, it has 3.4K dislikes. And the comment section is mostly negative, which just goes to show you that people do not agree with this review. A lot of people telling them that they are wrong and that this is, in fact, a good movie, which it is a good movie. And I would go as far as to say that it is one of the best video game adaptation movies. And also in terms of the box office and the ticket sales, it did even better than the abomination that is Birds of Prey, grossing over $200 million. So that should tell you whether or not this movie is worth your time, which I enjoyed myself watching this movie with my little cousins, which they had a blast. I mean, my theater was packed full of people and everybody enjoyed this movie. And look, I'm not saying that this is the greatest movie ever made. Nobody's saying that. But I'm actually gonna cut some slack to the people that made this movie because they actually listened to the fans. And what we got out of this was an excellent movie, which I will gladly accept what this movie has to offer. And yes, you could argue that the premise to this movie isn't the greatest plot ever, but honestly, I think it sets up this movie for potential sequels that I think will more than likely be just as good. Especially with that big reveal at the end, which I'm not going to spoil for you guys. So, if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend you guys go check it out and judge it for yourselves instead of listening to these baboons talk about the movie. Which, really, I wasn't surprised that they were going to bash this movie. I mean, if you've seen Doug's previous videos about this movie, which he did a reaction video of both of the trailers, I felt like Doug really wanted to hate this movie. And I'm not the only one that thinks that way. You can look at the comments section for yourselves. There's people that have pointed that out as well. But nevertheless, I want to point out a couple things that they bring up in this review. Like, for instance, one of their issues with this movie is the fact that it feels like a 90s movie.
I hope you like 90s movies, because man,
It's like a lost 90s movie. Like every bad 90s kids film.
So this whole movie, so it's like a 90s film, but it's kind of like on Fast Forward. So clearly written in the 90s, and they didn't update it at all.
And honestly, is that really something to hold against this movie? Which I have no idea what you guys are even talking about. Like, are you talking about the style of the movie? Or are you talking about the 90s references that are put in the movie? You guys don't really specify how it feels like a 90s movie. And at the end of the day, so what? I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that adds more to the nostalgia factor for me personally, because I grew up in that time and I grew up with Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, the Sega Genesis was the very first system that I ever had my hands on. And I wouldn't say that I'm a huge Sonic fan, but I enjoyed playing games around that era and watching movies around that era. So I personally don't think that's something that should be held against the movie. You guys also go on to say, well, it's kind of too late to make a Sonic movie. I mean, it's been 30 years. And I say, so what? I mean, you guys act like as though Sonic isn't as popular now as he was back then. And also, it's still a franchise that is going on 30 years strong. I mean, you still have video games coming out. You still have merchandise coming out for it. You still have cartoons coming out for it. So what is the big deal with taking a property from the 90s and making a movie about it in 2020? Because to me, I don't see the issue here. I don't really care. As long as the movie is good and I enjoy it, that's all that really matters.
Like, this is not made for the adults at all.
This
is for kids with
this
one or two
person
little...
in particular was saying that because, oh, well, there's jokes that adults will get, and I'm like...
They'll get, but they won't
laugh. That's the key. I'm like, yeah, I got all the adult jokes, and then laugh at them because they weren't well written or funny.
Really? You guys say that this movie is not made for adults, and that nobody will think the jokes are funny. First of all, comedy is subjective. So whether you find the jokes funny or not, well, that's completely up to your own taste in humor. But to say that this movie is not meant for adults, you gotta keep in mind that a majority of the Sonic fanbase is adults. And I don't think this movie had kids on their minds. I think they wanted to make a movie that everyone could enjoy. And so far, from what I've seen, a lot of adults enjoy this movie.
There isn't anything new or exciting or creative really thrown in this. I haven't seen a million other places done better and done when there was excitement behind it.
Which, if you think that the premise of this movie is lame, that's your opinion. That's fine. But to say that this movie lacks in creativity or imagination, that right there is a bit of a stretch, because the movie itself, while the premise is simplified, it actually does a lot of unique things with the Sonic the Hedgehog character that hasn't been in any of the video games at all. And it makes it fresh enough for people to just get into Sonic the Hedgehog without actually having to play the games. I mean, we get a new backstory, and not only that, the rings actually serve a purpose in Sonic's universe. The rings allow him to travel to different parts of the universe. He could travel to Earth, he could travel to a mushroom planet, which you guys thought that it was a reference to Mario, despite the fact that it's not. It is actually a reference to one of the stages in Sonic 3. I believe it's called Mushroom Hills or Mushroom Forest. I haven't played Sonic 3 in a long time, but I can tell you guys that's what it was referencing. It wasn't referencing Mario at all. And you complain about the fact that, oh, Sonic is on Earth, why couldn't it take place on Mobius, which looked a lot more interesting? As if to say that Sonic has never been on Earth in any of the video games, which he has. And honestly, in my opinion, I think that Sonic being on Earth is a good thing because it's a good way to set things up. And who knows, maybe he'll be in Mobius in the next movie. We'll just have to wait and see. But I don't think this movie is lacking in creativity or imagination. I think for the most part, it tries to do its own thing, while also being respectful to the original source material. I mean, that's why you see references from the original games as well as the modern games. They tried to please both the classic Sonic fans as well as the modern Sonic fans. I mean, yeah, does it have some cliches and tropes? Yes, but almost every single movie has that. So no, I wasn't expecting Sonic to be completely original, and I don't think anybody should. Because it's a movie that's made for the general audience. It's not just a kids movie, it's a movie that everybody can enjoy. And that's one of the biggest problems I have with Doug and Rob's assertion of this movie, that this movie is made for 5-year-olds, and you go as far as to call the writers boomers, which is like the dumbest thing. Like, just because they make a few jokes that you didn't laugh at, that doesn't make them boomers. Honestly, I found the writing to be really good. I mean, they managed to make jokes that actually are funny. And not only that, you don't have forced ideologies, you don't have forced politics in this movie. So for the most part, I will accept the fact that this isn't Quentin Tarantino levels of writing. Because what it offers is something that anyone can enjoy, no matter how old you are. But nevertheless, I took this review as them just looking for a reason to say that this movie is bad without actually giving good reasons why the movie is bad. I mean, if their only criticism against this movie is because they found the movie to be lame and that it uses certain tropes, or the fact that it didn't take place in Mobius, and that you thought the jokes weren't good and the writing wasn't good, which you never specify what exactly makes the writing bad or the jokes bad. Like, seriously, if that's your only criticism against this movie, then you must suck at being critics. And as many people have pointed out in the comments section, you guys have no room to talk about something being not funny or original or being lame when you guys did a shitty review of Pink Floyd's The Wall. If you guys want to know more on that, then go watch my videos. But nevertheless, I didn't want to waste all my time doing a response to all their points because I would be at this all day, and I don't have a whole lot of time to sit and go through every single thing that they mention in this. I just wanted to point out some of the big stuff that they bring up in their video to basically give you guys an idea of what their review of Sonic the Hedgehog is, and why that video is getting so much negative attention, why it's gotten so many dislikes, and why a lot of people are leaving negative comments on the video. And if you guys want to see me do an actual response when the Nostalgia Critic does a review of this movie, then let me know in the comments section of this video. And let me know what you guys think about this video. I mean, do you guys prefer this off-the-cuff editorial style with a lot more edits? Or do you prefer the gameplay footage and me just talking over it? I would like to know in the comments section of this video, so that way I know what direction I should go with this channel. And also, if you guys don't mind, please hit that subscriber button and that bell notification so that way you'll be up to date with what I do here on this channel. I would appreciate that very, very much. And also be sure to follow me on Twitter at Canvas Pirate because I tweet a lot, and that's where I'm mostly on. But nevertheless, that's really all I have to say. This has been Pirate Canvas signing off. And go watch Sonic the Hedgehog the movie. You will not be disappointed.